Hi everyone, I am Brenda Finley from Finley Feather Farm here in Southern Illinois. Today we're going to make our very own deodorant. So not only will these save you money in the long run, but it will be healthier for your body. It will save you money in the long run by just containing 4 different ingredients, and within those ingredients they come in low prices pretty much for a lot, and the reason why is because we're using coconut oil, baking soda, body powder, and cornstarch. So you can find those in your local stores, and if you have a Dollar General nearby or a Dollar Tree, you can find what you're looking for there at a low price. They'll be healthier for your body because they do not contain aluminum. Aluminum is an ingredient that is added to your store-bought deodorant. So let's get to it. So like I said, we are using majority of the products from a local Dollar Tree and Dollar General. You can find the same products as yours. I have also found these cups at Dollar Tree, and this is where I store our deodorant whenever I'm using it. Well, not using it, I guess. And then these we have, just laying around the house. If you don't, you can also find these at Dollar Tree and Dollar General. You also need a mixing bowl, and I just have a simple bowl here. I'm not sure if it's going to be big enough for what we're doing, but I'm going to just test it out and go along with it. First off, I just want to say that you'll need half a cup of each of the ingredients that we're using today. And if you want to use vanilla extract for the kind of like a scent to add to your deodorant, you can add that as well. And I'll give you the size the amount for that whenever we get to it. First off, I'm going to start with half a cup of my coconut oil. And I believe I should still have half a cup left in here. Since it is already hard, I may go ahead and warm it up. Yeah. Looks like that's what I'm going to have to do, and you'll probably have to do it as well. Since our coconut oil is still a solid for the most part, I'm going to put some warm water in this bowl here, and I'm going to heat it up to where it gets even warmer in the microwave. And I'm just going to set this in there for maybe a couple minutes, and it should melt or at least soften up a bit to where we can put it back in the bowl. Before I put it back in the bowl, I'm going to dump that water out. Now that I have my warm water, I'm going to put this in there and just kind of let it sit for a couple minutes and let it soften up like I said before. You don't want to add the container itself with the coconut oil in it. You don't want to put that in the microwave because sparks can kind of fly and it's not a good experience. Looks like it is already softened up, so I'm just gonna let it do its thing as long as it's doing it. Alright, so whenever I put this in there, it only took it about a minute for it to become really soft. So I went ahead and took my spoon and kind of just poked at it a few times, mixed it around with what is soft and hard. That way the heat would get to most of it as it could. And then I put the lid on top to kind of help trap the heat into the jar. So now I'm going to go ahead and open it and see what we're working with. It's only been about 2-3 minutes. The reason why you want this to be soft is not only because it would be easier to measure, but whenever you get to mixing it with your powders, you don't want it to be hard because it won't be mixing with it. I think I got a little bit of a hard piece in there, so I'm going to kind of chalk it up a bit more. The good thing about this bowl is that it was holding the warm water and it was in the microwave. So the bowl itself should be warm for a little bit of time once I dump out the water. There's still a little bit of a big piece in there. I might get to it a little better whenever I measure it out, so we'll try that. I'll set that back in there. May need that napkin again later, so I'm going to put it there. I'm just going to go ahead and put the measuring cup inside the bowl in case I dump any out. Alright, so it looks like I had more than enough, so I didn't have to use the chunky piece that was still in there. And so majority of what I got is the liquid. I'm going to mix that up a little bit. There's a small chunk of coconut oil in there, but I'm not too worried about it. I'm going to wipe this out to help kind of get the coconut oil out of there for whenever we add our cornstarch and baking soda and the body powder. You don't want them to stick to the sides. You want to just plop right into the bowl. First, I'm going to start with my baking soda. I have already used this for many other projects. Let's see, this is kind of a small measuring cup because it's just a half a cup. And so, I made it a little bit over, but that is okay. Now this is a deodorant recipe that I have been using for a year now, and it is been working decently well for me and my parents. The reason why I say decently well is because I may have to apply it more than once throughout the day, and I think it's worth it. I've never really been annoyed by that, and it's kind of just rarely, mainly just on the hot days, which, to be honest, I'd probably add 2 layers of deodorant throughout the day whenever I'm using store-bought deodorant, so it'd be no different. Now I'm going to stir this in like I have been, and so it should be like this kind of consistency. Now I'm going to open my cornstarch, and we're going to add that in as well. I would like to get it where the entire tip is not there. Just hang on with me just 1 second. I'm going to get some scissors. Okay. Now I'm measuring this to half a cup as well. Gotta work with the bag a little more. Okay. That looks good to me. Try to get as much of it out of the container as I can. I don't want to stick my spoon back in there because it would probably cause more problems than it would be solving, especially now that it has more coconut oil and baking soda on it as well. There we go. Now, before I clean up my mess, I'm going to go ahead and try my best to get this in the jar, since, as you can see, it doesn't really pop off. Or at least I have not figured out a way to pop that off easily. So we're just going to spray it into this and do it very slowly because you don't want it to go everywhere. You just want it into the cup. As you see, it will kind of fly everywhere. Okay, get some of that out of there. So this is the body powder, and it's medicated with cornstarch already. So if you want to just kind of leave out the basic cornstarch and measure this to a cup, I'm sure you can do it. I haven't tried it that way. I've just been doing both. Now I'm going to go ahead and scrape out this, since there's more powder in here than there was oil here. I'm going to softly just flip and turn. Now, if you need to, you can always add more coconut oil. But if you have ever made something like dumplings, this is kind of like what it's going to be. That kind of consistency. Oh, got some on my finger. There we go. And I'll show you guys in a second what it looks like. After it's all mixed in, of course. And of course, if you want to leave out the spoon during this part, you can just get your hands dirty, which I'm trying not to do since I'll have to touch the camera. So for this, it's going to be a thick consistency, and which is, you know, just like deodorant. But the thing is, when you put it in these jars, you can also use your old deodorant containers and just pour it in there. If you warm this up, you can probably get it to that type of liquid where it will pour in, and you could just use it like your basic deodorant. But for me, I just prefer these. I could just scrape it in there. It's super easy. But when you get to it, you'll have to kind of dip it in, and you can go in under your armpits like that, or you can get like a popsicle stick and work your deodorant on using a popsicle stick. I'm gonna probably just get a little bit, yeah, okay. So if you can't see, it's kind of, I wouldn't say Play-Doh, but it's quite similar to that. And the beauty about this is you can do it with your kids. You can do it, you know, just in spare time if you're bored and if you're running low on deodorant. I know some people use the body powder itself as deodorant, and that works for them. So that's why I've been adding it into my recipe. And the warmth of my hand does kind of help melt it down a little bit. Makes it a little easier to work with. So, let me see. There you go. And that's the making of deodorant. Next step is to put them in the jars or containers that you have at your house. And just give me 1 second. I'm going to clean off my hands and we'll get to that. So now that I'm all cleaned up, I'm going to open my jars. Like I said, I found a whole pack of these. It was, I think, 10 of them at Dollar Tree. And they, of course, were just $1. And I'm just using a spoon to kind of scrape it in there. The last time I did this recipe, it was about, I say it would fill in 2 jars and a half jar. I'm just going to kind of smooth my spoon across, try to get it down towards each other as much as I can. But I'm not too worried about it, of course, because for me, I'll be sticking my finger in there and wiping it up to use anyways. Now, the only negative I have found with this deodorant is that it does leave the deodorant markings, and that can be quite annoying, but I'm just extra careful with it, and at some point you kind of get used to it if it does happen and your deodorant markings do show, because a lot of deodorant is like that. Which I feel at this point is kind of normal in our society if something like that does show. Now, if you're in a more professional setting, I understand if you don't want to use this because of the fear of the markings showing. Now, I'm going to show you guys these. And that's what they look like in the jars. And I'm going to cap them. Three alone has pretty much lasted me a little less than a year. And there we go. The bowl's pretty much clean. So if you wanted to jump up your recipe when you make these, since I do a half of each ingredient, if you wanted to jump up yours to 2/3 cups, I could see that working as well, and you may be able to actually do a full 1/3 cup. I'm just not too worried about it, since it's just me and my parents using it. Now that is how you package your deodorant. Alright, now I get to use these deodorants instead of my store-bought ones, and those are just for emergencies now, in case I do run out of these, or say I'm in my truck and I need a deodorant, I leave a miniature one in there, that way I don't have these melting. If these are in the heat, they'll stay a liquid. If they're just in your house, they'll most of the time stay solid. Just think of a coconut oil, when it's going to melt versus when it stays solid. This will do the same. If you're interested in joining in on more videos, please hit that subscribe button and hit the like button if you enjoyed this one. We will come back each Thursday at 4:30 here in Illinois with more videos.